Hi. Hey, I wanted to break down something for you so that I can get a sense of where I'm coming from and what I see and what I think you're up against in trying to formulate some sort of a counter narrative to what's currently happening. We have a deeply ingrained fascistic system here in this country. We have no freedom. It's 100% fascism. The only question before us today is whether we're going to get fascism light with the Donald, or we're going to get a good old-fashioned hardcore authoritarian fascism, the kind that would make old Uncle Adolf blush under Biden. I don't believe that we ever gained our independence from the British Crown. I think that was an illusion. I think our country is controlled lock, stock, and barrel by a handful of men, and they control all of corporate America, and and they're hiding right out in plain sight, and it's very easy to see. And I'll explain that to you. Basically, we have 7 cartels that control the entire country. We have the financial cartel, the military-industrial complex, the medical-industrial complex, the media-industrial complex, the education complex, big tech, and energy. These are all parasitic industries. They require someone else somewhere to produce something of value, and they expropriate that value for their own means. For example, finance. They produce debt which they conjure out of thin air through their central banking system. And they issue that debt and they make money through usury and all of the different manipulation schemes of all the markets that they've been able to concoct over the last 30 years. In military-industrial complex, they do produce products, but those products require taxpayer dollars to pay for them, or taxpayer dollars and a lot of the taxpayers taking on a huge, colossal debt burden to pay for all these products, which are used to coerce other countries abroad to fall into line with the other cartels. We have the medical industrial complex. Again, medicine is purely parasitic. It needs sick people to create value. There has to be excess wealth produced in the country to be able to fund the medical industrial complex. The media industrial complex, well, they just live off of the ad revenue of the other cartel members who stole their money from the productive working class people. The education complex, again, a quality education is the byproduct of a wealthy society, and the wealth had to be created from producing value somewhere. Tech, I don't know what tech is. Tech, I think, is the biggest bill of goods that's ever been sold to humanity. They don't produce anything other than a bunch of surveillance and data gathering technologies for the cartel members, and they throw us a few crumbs like some cute phones and a PC, and we get some bread and circuses out of it, and really nothing more than that. Energy, they're the only one that really produces a meaningful product. The energy cartel produces energy that we use to function our modern society. They actually produce some meaningful value. Unfortunately, they're in bed deeply with the financial and the military-industrial complex, so they just are absolutely predatory. All of these industries are parasitic and predatory. And if we don't get this parasite off of it, they're going to destroy us. They'll kill us. They don't think, I don't know if they think beyond that other than a system of control. And what I think they're enacting is a system of complete and total slavery. This is where we're headed. Complete and total slavery. And I'll show you how that's going to come together. It's hiding right in plain sight. You can't miss it. These cartels, are run by all major corporations throughout America. This is our S&P 500, really comprises all the cartel members. The S&P 500 has a value of approximately $23 trillion as of currently. That $23 trillion is almost totally controlled, is 60% controlled by 2 companies, BlackRock and Vanguard. BlackRock and Vanguard are the major shareholders in just about every major corporation in America. And you can just look it up. It's really quick and easy to do. BlackRock and Vanguard, between the 2 companies, I call it Blackguard, Blackguard controls $14 trillion out of a $23 trillion of the S&P 500. That's 61% of the S&P. If you combine BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, and State Street, they control $19 trillion in assets, almost $20 trillion in assets. S&P 500 is $23 trillion. Basically, those four companies control the whole S&P 500. If you look up all the major banks, Chase, Citi, B of A, Wells, who's the largest shareholders in those companies? BlackRock and Vanguard. Military industrial complex, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, who are the largest shareholders? BlackRock and Vanguard. All the major pharmaceutical companies, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, you can go down the whole list. BlackRock and Vanguard. Very interesting too with coronavirus. Who are the major companies that are the leading candidates, basically the companies that have been tapped to produce the vaccine that's going to save us all from coronavirus, which doesn't even fucking exist? Moderna. Who are the largest shareholders in Moderna? We don't have an earthquake, they're loading my truck. Who are the largest shareholders in Moderna? BlackRock and Vanguard. The media companies, all the major media companies, Viacom, Disney, Comcast, AT&T. They own all the media companies in this country. Who's the largest shareholders in those companies? BlackRock and Vanguard. Technology, all the big tech, Microsoft, Apple, go down the list. BlackRock and Vanguard control those companies. All the major oil companies, BlackRock and Vanguard control those companies. They're also making inroads into all the big companies, like all this online education nonsense that's coming on board. BlackRock and Vanguard are heavily invested. Beyond Meat, BlackRock and Vanguard. All the corporations that have profited immensely, like Amazon and Walmart and all those companies that have Costco, that have profited hugely over this coronavirus, BlackRock and Vanguard own those companies. So they control all these companies. And you go look at BlackRock, go to their website, look at their website. What are their major focus points? Corporate governance. It's control. They control the voting shares. So when you have all your money in a 401k, when you have all your money in a mutual fund, when all that money, you don't vote for shareholders. Nobody does. Who's doing the voting? BlackRock and Vanguard, State Street, Fidelity. They're controlling the boards of every one of these major companies, the CEOs of every one of these major companies, because they own enough of the voting shares to control those companies. And those handful of people that are at the top of BlackRock and Vanguard are dictating corporate policy. And you look further at what their major initiatives are. It's all this social justice bullshit. It's all social justice, sustainable development, whatever that means. And it's all the same flowery language that you see in all these municipal governments about sustainable development in all the major cities across America. All this sustainable development, you always wonder where it came from the United Nations, because they're pushing it there with all the foundations they support and fund. All the major environmental groups are funded through the Tides Foundation. And all that money comes in very secretly into Tides and into these environmental groups, and it all stems back to the Council on Foundations. Go look that up. They teach all these foundations, these people who donate money, how to donate their money, what causes it should go to, and they direct all of the money from these foundations. Bill and Melinda Gates foundations, they're all there, all the big boys. They control basically every aspect of what these corporate direction is going. And it's all in social justice, sustainable development. You take a look at the Open Society foundations that are funded by George Soros, that are funding all these Antifa groups, Black Lives Matters. There's also the Enterprise Foundation there. It's putting major donations. You look up the Enterprise Foundation, James Roush, he was a developer, socially conscious developer. Yes. All about sustainable development. Burning down these cities, burning out people out of sections of these cities is all about a redevelopment project. All of these areas in Minneapolis that were burned out, They're all in opportunity zones. Where's the money going to come for all of this? Well, BlackRock, they were brought into the Fed, which was just brought into the U.S. Treasury under Trump. They handle all the open market operations, all the asset purchases in the Federal Reserve Bank. So they have access to unlimited trillions of dollars that are being conjured out of thin air to go out and bail out everybody. And they are dispensing of these assets. It all comes through BlackRock. And everybody who's going to fall in line with this big Green New Deal and that encompasses social justice and all this flowery language. God only knows what it means, but they're dictating all that. And it's a handful of men. And you go look at this handful of men, and it's all men. And it's not white men. These are Jewish men. They're not white. They're Jewish, like the song goes. And they all have ties back to where? The City of London, the Pilgrim Society, and the City of London, which hides behind the crown, and all of their these privy councils and societies, and they all intertwine together to control the direction of our corporations. This is why they moved immediately in lockstep as I watched it through this coronavirus pandemic, because I interact with all the major corporations, and everything happened exactly on the same day almost. I mean, it did happen on the same day. It was frightening, chilling. So these guys control every aspect of our lives. But because these are masters, these people who are controlling our society, they control our political landscape, they control the United States, which is nothing more than a corporation. It's a fake entity. The real United States of America exists, and we have the Constitution there. But the reason it's broken is because the United States is a corporation. And each one of us, when we got our social security number and our names are spelled in all caps, we are a corporate entity, and we are a piece of property in the corporation of the United States of America. And we are allowing this to happen. But these people, because they are parasites, they produce nothing. They create absolutely nothing of value. Nothing of value. The way to beat them is profoundly simple. However, it takes a lot of work. And we need to kill these parasites, because if we don't get rid of this parasite and kill the parasite, they're going to kill us. And they're going to completely enslave us. So how do we kill the parasite? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to stop funding our enslavement. We have to stop funding the construction of our own gulags. How do we do that? Well, you pull your money out of the banks, particularly the big banks. You don't keep any money in a big bank. Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, Citi, B of A, you don't have any money in those banks. You pull it out. And if you want to have money in a bank, put it in a local bank, a local credit union, somebody that you know, but not a bank that is controlled or has shareholders that stem back to these major banks. Otherwise, your money is not in these banks. But be very careful of the banks. Stop funding your 401k. Stop giving these bastards the money to run these corporations. Stop funding your 401k and then cash out your 401k. People start pulling their money out of the stock market. Well, where's their funding going to come from? We're all tied to the stock market because they've driven interest rates down to zero, and everyone's freaked out about their retirement. Here's a news flash, folks. You're not going to have a retirement. If you're a millionaire today, they're coming for your millions. The billionaires are going to take your million. Nobody's going to have any money left. Just like they stole everybody's houses during the housing crisis when they falsified the chain of title. Do you have your stock certificates? Do you have any proof of ownership of the stocks and the shares you own? Shares in those mutual funds? No, you do not. Nobody has that today. They will steal this money from you. That little scam they ran, the mortgage scam, for the tune of over $1 trillion worth of real estate they stole, that was just a test run. They're getting ready to take your savings, your 401ks, and every bit of money that you have, and you will be left destitute if you don't get your money out of there real quick. If you want to invest in companies that you can know, and companies that are not controlled by Blackguard. Keep your savings in gold and silver. If you want savings, a real store of value, you put it in gold and silver. That's what the elite do. That's how they've had wealth that's transcended hundreds of years, is they keep it in gold and silver and actual real estate that they own free and clear, that's not encumbered by debt. You get rid of debt. You don't have any debt. You pay off all the debt and you eliminate debt out of your life, because debt is slavery to the parasite. They conjure the debt out of thin air, free. They don't pay for the debt. You go out and borrow money for a car, $10,000 to buy a car. Well, they don't take money out of their pocket and give it to you. No, they just put $10,000 on their balance sheet and hand it to you. It's just conjured out of thin air. And you have to pay that money back plus interest. There's not enough money to ever pay back the interest. This is a total Ponzi scheme. It's a fraud. This is why in the Bible, usury is a sin, because it's slavery. This is why Jesus whipped the money changers out of the temple. This is all biblical shit. This is coming down to the Bible. Buy guns and ammunition. You're going to need it. Train how to use it. Be able to defend yourself and your property. All this defunding the police, it's coming. It's going to go a lot further. This is how they're going to run you out of the suburbs and destroy your communities. That's coming. You're going to need to defend it. The police are not here to help you. They're your enemy. They're not here to help you. They work for the criminals who inhabit your county councils and your city councils. They're all criminals. They're all beholden to the elites. And they're defending them, not you. They will throw you in jail. So you got to be prepared not only to shoot and kill, you're going to have to be prepared to shoot and kill police, because they are a threat to your safety, your freedom, and your life. You need to get healthy and wean yourself off of the medical cartel, off of their drugs. Their drugs are deadly. This whole COVID thing, they've never isolated the coronavirus. They don't know that the coronavirus can kill you. They don't know that the coronavirus even exists. They don't know that it's contagious. They've never gone through Koch's postulate to isolate the virus and purify it in a lab, put the virus into a healthy host, see if the healthy host gets sick, and see if that host then can transmit that virus to another living organism. That process has never been done. They've never isolated it, and they've admitted to that. It's just that they've clouded this all up in jibber jabber. Basic things. You can see through this coronavirus smokes thing with some basic common sense, logical thinking, and some basic leadership skills and problem solving. This isn't hard. It's just that we've lost this capability in this country. Critical thinking skills are gone. The other thing you need to do is turn off the television and stop watching movies. Hollywood is toxic. It's all toxic. It's all lies. It's all toxic. It's all mind control. And it's very effective mind control, and it's working. Be very careful what you use and read on the internet, because this is all the internet, social media, all of this is a gigantic psychological warfare operation. They've collected all our data for quite a number of years, and they use advanced AI algorithms, and they can go out and study you. They know what you're thinking. They're going to know what you search for shop for on Amazon before you even start shopping. They know what you're going to what you're thinking. They've examined your thoughts, your every thoughts, which is what they do, is they analyze your search history. These AI bots have figured all this out. This is how they know how to punch everybody's buttons, and why there's all these crazy mind control people out there. Because there's a huge percentage of the population that they're able to mind control, and they're very effective at it. These mind control techniques were developed back in the 70s, and they've been perfecting them. And technology is a tool of perfecting these kind of mind control technologies. Technology is just nothing more than, it's all weaponized. Technology, all of big tech. People act like these are people that created this shit in a garage. I don't believe that story for 1 minute. All this stuff was created in the military-industrial complex. There are some good people out there, honest people, honest entrepreneurial people, who have created technological advancements, and only to have them stolen. The British Crown controls the Pilgrim Society, and all those people control the U.S. Patent Office. Do some research into the Highland Group. The Highland Group is a group of people who oversee all massive technological advancement, at a big, high 50,000 foot level. They steal technology, they direct technology developments, because they know how to, they see the big picture, and they're plugging in all these technological advancements to do different things. And so much, there's probably a lot of beneficial technology out there, but it's all withheld from the public, because we don't get shit. There's nothing, no medical advancements. We've been listening, they're going to cure cancer my whole life. Now, what do they got, a 3% success rate on cancer? Cancer's an industry. They're never going to cure cancer. They can't afford to cure cancer. The medical cartels are making a killing, literally, no pun intended. Education is a disaster. It's Marxism. It's all Marxist, cultural Marxism. These kids are marinating in it. The academic community's marinating in it. All the engineers have marinated, even though they don't really realize it. This is why they're all spineless. They have no conviction, no philosophy. They took clapping for credit, and they're all really smart in math and all of that, but they marinated in Marxism. The Boeing company, I worked there 4 years. They marinated those people in Marxism. I resisted it. I called it out. I said, Jesus Christ, you guys are quoting Lenin, Marx, and Stalin from their speeches, because I'd read all the books. We're fighting these people in the Cold War, and you're quoting their ideology and their philosophies as if it's virtuous and we should embrace it when we're spending trillions to fight these bastards. Subversion, pure subversion. The educational establishment is rotten to the core. The people that are running our universities are the modern day version of slave traders. They've captured these kids just like they captured the slaves on the coast of East Africa, put them in bondage, and drug them over here. What they're doing to these kids is they're putting them into debt bondage, and they're handing them off to the corporations to work off their debt. It's disgusting. Those people are beyond reproach, in my opinion. So you have to punch out. There is no way. I don't believe you're going to change these people's minds. They are so thoroughly indoctrinated into what's going on. And the people who work in corporate America, I don't believe there are good people in corporate America. I certainly haven't met them. They come off as good. They're nice and polished, but they're sociopathic. They have way too many sociopathic tendencies. You do not rise to a level of any significance in corporate America if you're not sociopathic. Period. These people are dangerous. I wouldn't trust them as far as I can throw them. Anyway, that's my thought on it. Thought I'd share that with you because that's what I've observed, and all of this stuff is very well researched, and there is a trail on this stuff. You have a handful of people that control corporate America. They're controlling our Federal Reserve banks. They're controlling Wall Street, the City of London. There's just a handful of them, and they're Jewish. They work in the City of London. It's not anti-Semitic. It's just an observation. It's reality. You can research it. They're all right there. Bank of International Settlements, Swiss National Bank, Federal Reserve, U.S. Treasury, Bank of England. All there forever. Rothschild family, the Astors, the Warburgs, the Schiffs. It's all that ancient money. And it's all parasitic. We have to realize where we're at and stop buying into the illusions. We're not free. We don't have a free country. The United States of America is gone. It's been stomped over the top by this corporation called the Corporation of the United States. And we are corporate entities, and we need to reclaim our sovereignty. And we need to first do it by checking out and not participating. And that's going to take a real gut check. But it's not that hard. I've done it. I'm there. I don't have anything in their system other than a little bit of money in the bank to pay my bills. And everything else they can't touch. And I am prepared to fight to the death to defend it and my freedom. And people need to develop that mindset. Because once you do, it's quite liberating. Good luck.